chasing that farewell tour. They don't love you like that. You thought you was going.
I thought we were asleep in the first half. We're still on All-Star break.
Final seconds of the third. Curry putting on moves against Crawford. 1 second left. He fires up and hits.
We scored 50? I didn't know that.
Paul Pierce took to Twitter to clap back, bringing up that 3-1 lead. So after scoring 49 points in the first quarter, Steve Kerr asked the Warriors to have more emotion in the second half. Draymond did what he does, all fired up, spurring the Warriors' 50-point third quarter on the way to their 123-113 win over the Clippers, who they've now beaten 10 straight times. Max, is Draymond's emotion a good thing for this team?
Of course it is. And even better when he harnesses it properly. Yes, of course. But of course his emotion's good for this team. Look, KD is a silent assassin. Steph is like a baby-faced killer, right? Like the kids identify with him, everything. But he's not the loud, vocal leader in the locker room. Klay Thompson's a machine. He's a shooting machine. Where does the emotion come from? It comes from Draymond Green. And he deflects attention, or rather absorbs it, so the other guys are free to be who they want to be. And they don't have to carry that burden. That's Draymond's personality. And if you want to look for evidence, just check out last night's game. Now, the Warriors won handily. But in the third quarter, at the moment that Draymond got the tech, the Clippers were winning 66-61. It was a close game. And then Draymond gets the tech, and the Warriors score 50 points in that quarter. Is that coincidental? He's their emotional leader. Yes, he should harness it better at times, but his emotion, on balance, is excellent for the Warriors.
Molly, I know that you've offered all kinds of health remedies for us on this show. Several of them, I think, can be called homeopathic in nature, perhaps even.
Yes, I'm into wellness.
You're into wellness. Did you know that you can die by drinking too much water?
No.
Too much water. You can have water poisoning. You can have too much of anything. Of course, Draymond's emotion is good for the Warriors, to a point. And too often, it goes over that point. Too often, Draymond's emotion, which is so often good for them, becomes a negative. Not once, not twice, not at regular season games when he kicks Blake Griffin in the what was it, first quarter, second quarter, kicked Blake Griffin. Not at just meaningless, harmless times, but in the NBA Finals, when his emotion gets the better of him against a guy like LeBron James. We talked about this earlier, Max. Genius always exists on a line. It always exists on an edge. And sometimes it spills over. Now, here's the catch, I think. I don't think the Warriors need Draymond's emotion. I don't think a team that wins 73 games and has Steph, Klay, and Kevin Durant needs or should need to be motivated. Maybe a regular season game against the Clippers in February, perhaps. Come playoff time, do they really need a guy that has the... I'm not talking about Draymond as a player. I'm talking about Draymond as a motivator. Do they really need a guy who has the potential to bark at Steve Kerr like he did last night, to explode in the locker room like he did last year? Draymond's emotion is one of the biggest risk factors for this team. The positive side of it that you talk about, which he does offer, at this point, Max, you could almost say is almost unnecessary. This team is so good, they don't need that. And the negative...
The coach doesn't think that's true.
Who?
The coach doesn't think it's unnecessary. The coach, I mean, Steve Kerr doesn't think it's unnecessary. He implored him for more emotion.
Would he say that, really, if he needed it?
Draymond gave it to him.
If Steve Kerr had a problem with Draymond's antics, do you think he'd really say it?
I don't think that the issue for Draymond is necessarily only, in terms of his emotion, only that he could get suspended in the middle of an important game. I mean, that's acknowledging his importance as a player, incidentally.
Yes.
You're tacitly
acknowledging. But no one would argue he's not important as a player.
Well, I mean, okay.
We're talking about his emotion.
If he got his emotions in check, he'd be even better. Okay, fine, that's legitimate. But it's different than saying earlier in the show, incidentally, that that's holding them back from a championship, because that's assuming you can find, supposing you can find a guy just like Draymond who knows how to check his emotions. I think the bigger danger for Draymond's emotional kind of intensity is that after a while, his teammates could tune him out in the locker room, roll their eyes. Oh, there goes Draymond again. If you're always at 11, you know, how do you ratchet it up even more when you really want your teammates to hear you? Well, maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe that's why he kicks or draws technicals, because if he's always amped up as high as he can kind of legally be, then he needs to cross the line to really get his point across, because otherwise it just becomes, for lack of a better word, like white noise to his teammates. There's a danger in that, sure. But all we're really arguing is that anyone, including Draymond Green, can further optimize their behavior. That there's always room for improvement. There is room for improvement in Draymond Green in terms of the way he checks his emotions. Sure, he's imperfect, but his emotion generally is not only important, I think it's necessary for this team that otherwise doesn't have it.
I think what we're arguing about, Max, is whether or not Draymond can become better, but whether or not he can control himself. Because if he cannot, we're not having a theoretical debate. If he cannot, he can cost his team a championship. If he cannot control his emotions, he can take a very, very good player, a great player in himself off the court. He did it 1 year ago. And I don't know, at this point, the evidence suggests it's not a good bet to suggest he can control it. It's not.
But when you say control, you really are talking about just self-improvement that anyone can go through. Because
no, not
his
getting
energy,
ejected, essentially.
Look, yes, he'd be even better if he always towed the line properly instead of sometimes walking across it, stepping across it. But the reason he's an elite defender at 5 positions is because he's always energetic.
So,
well, you can be energetic
what you're
without.
Saying, Max, is he's such
Who
a good,
else doesn't like him?
But he's such a good player that he's worth towing the line and sometimes picking up a tech and things like that. That's essentially what you're saying, right?
No, I'm saying that you were trying to divorce what makes him go from we're trying to take that and separate it out and say just control that part. Yes, it would be good if he could take that back a little, but that part, that always
that's what makes him so great.
As high as he goes.
No.
That's what makes him. That's why he comes up with the loose balls. That's why he runs the floor and tires out the other side's bigs the way he does. That's why he can switch on everybody. That's why he can guard all those positions and still have the energy to be offensively have an impact. That's why.
I think, Max, that is being an apologist for his behavior. I think it's not. You can respect Draymond very, very much and suggest your energy is great, your emotion is great, and then you kick people in the...
Those are natural body movements.
And then you yell at your coach, and then you get yourself kicked out, and you can't do that. You can still be great and not do that.
Yeah. Don't kick people, Draymond. It's basketball. Don't kick people. That's true.
Speaking of getting kicked out, a few years ago, Colin Kaepernick was being talked about as possibly being the next Tom Brady, but after a lot of political drama this season, some mediocre play, he's on the chopping block for the 49ers. Does he deserve another shot in San Fran with the new brass? Plus, could Adrian Peterson be moving on from the Vikings? The team and legendary running back apparently haven't had any talks yet about this upcoming season. Is he expendable for Minnesota, and where could he go? Stay tuned.
If you got Carmelo Anthony, how the hell are you going to give him away for a box of cookies? Please explain. I need help, Max. You ain't getting a superstar for him. He's not a superstar. You trying to tell me that? Who's the superstar? Yeah, Blake Griffin is. A superstar? Really?
That never gets old. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another hour of First Take. Thank you so much for being with us on a Friday. Stephen A. is off today. He is being honored at his alma mater, so congratulations to him. Don't worry, Will Kane is here. And, of course, your boy, Max Kellerman. Max, what are you hot on for hour number 2?
I mean, plenty of NBA, of course, Boogie and New Orleans and all that. But NFL, too. Tom Brady, why? Adrian Peterson, no. Colin Kaepernick, yes. We'll explain coming up. Hour number 2, First Take right now.
That's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, got me.
About last night, DeMarcus Cousins made his Pelicans debut, and he filled up that stat column with 27 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, and 4 blocks. But it came with an all-too-familiar result, a 30-point loss to the Rockets. Cousins, how you feeling?
Well, it's obvious we're not used to one another. We kind of, catered to one another instead of just playing our own game. I didn't expect to come in and, win a championship. Houston's a very good team, very seasoned team. They have their identity, and we're trying to find ours right now.
Max, is this 30-point loss a sign of things to come for Fire and Ice?
No more than if you write a paper in school, the first draft is what you're going to hand in. I mean, let's remember when KD went to the Warriors early this season, they got blown out by San Antonio. You want to replay that game? The fact is, when you try to integrate a major, especially offensive piece onto a team, incidentally, it's not like they were clicking on all cylinders before the trade. New Orleans isn't a very good team. But when you take a team that's not very good in the first place, try to integrate a major new piece who basically plays the same or very similar position as your best player already plays, you're expecting it to look like it's a finished product. There's an old expression, never show a fool half a job. This is half a job. A lot of fools are going to think that this means bad news for the Pelicans. They keep Boogie Cousins. I expect good things from him and Anthony Davis.
Let me be that fool. Should I be that fool?
Apparently. It's up to you. Maybe you are.
Well, I think you're looking at the wrong box score. I mean, you want to know the answer to this question, whether or not this is a
sign of things to come.
omen of things to come, a sign of things to come. I think you should look at this box score. Kings 116, Nuggets 100. I think you got your answer right there. Kings have found addition by subtraction. Pelicans have found subtraction by addition. Now, I'll grant you one game does not tell us where the Pelicans are going to be, at least not in the terms of 30-point blowouts. But there was a guy that used to work here that popularized a theory called the Ewing theory, that you take away a star player and suddenly teams get better. That's Bill Simmons, his theory. I think you're seeing this play out when it comes to the Sacramento Kings. DeMarcus Cousins is undoubtedly a very talented player. Nobody can score and put up box scores like him without being a talented guy. But that's not the end. That's not the end of the story. Theory and box scores are not basketball. You have other elements. And Ryan Russillo, who hosts a show here from 1 to 4 on ESPN Radio, has pointed this out. He's watched Boogie almost all this season, and he's seen play after play after play, from inbound passes to defense, where DeMarcus Cousins just decides he's not going to play. Now, I'm not saying he did that in New Orleans last night, and I'm not saying he does that every game. But that is the kind of player that the Pelicans have added. And while in theory it's nice to zig while others are zagging, while in theory it's nice to add 2 twin towers with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, the problem with the theory is they're actual human beings. They're players. And DeMarcus Cousins' past suggests the future will not be bright for the Pelicans, that it will not work out. It's not just 2 7-foot centers. It's DeMarcus Cousins as one of them.
I think that it's a legitimate question as to whether Boogie Cousins is a winning or a losing player. That's a legitimate question, and the jury is out. The Kings are a losing franchise. I mean, the question was the same with Isaiah Thomas was there. Are they a winning or losing? Willie Cauley-Stein's not going to go for 30 and 10 or 29 and 10 every night, and if he does, by the way, God bless him. But the point is that the Kings have a losing culture, and it affected Isaiah Thomas when he was playing with Boogie Cousins. How much of that is Boogie? How much of that is the Kings? We're about to find out. I mean, we know they're the losers in every trade, right? If a team wants to unload a player they think hurts them winning, Masai Ujiri gets to Toronto, he gets rid of right away of Rudy Gay. Who does he find to take him? Obviously, the Sacramento Kings. They lose every trade. They don't know what they're doing, and so they don't know what they're looking at. And the owner is, insane about what he thinks is going to make a good team. At any rate, we're going to find out the answer to your question as to whether Boogie Cousins is actually detrimental to a team's success. But I think if you look at Isaiah Thomas, it suggests probably it's more the Kings. At least that's what the early returns say to me. Boogie Cousins' problem is not on the court. Yes, you can track every play and see at times. No, it's not. You can track every play and see at times, oh, he didn't play defense there, etc. You can do that for a lot of players. His style of play is not counterproductive to winning. His skill set is not counterproductive to winning. His age, his injury history, none of those things are counterproductive to winning. His attitude in the locker room might be. He may be a coach killer. He may be uncoachable. We shall see. But none of his actual game suggests that. His actual game suggests he is a monster, and you're putting him with another monster in New Orleans. And if Alvin Gentry can't make that work, that's on him as much as it's on Boogie.
I love it in theory. I really do. I wish nothing but goodwill for Boogie Cousins, but the evidence is overwhelming. Multiple Sacramento Kings coaches have said he's a problem. Multiple GMs